The sky was dark on the small alien planet. Thick gray clouds covered the stars, and cold winds blew over the dusty ground. Strange trees stood like shadows, tall and lifeless. The air was silent, except for the soft sound of footsteps, small, weak footsteps. A little creature walked slowly through the dead forest. Her skin was pale and thin, almost shining under the faint light of the two moons. She was not human. She was an alien child, but she was not like other alien creatures people feared. She was small, fragile, and starving. Her name was Luma, though no one called her that anymore. In fact, no one called her anything at all. She had no family, no friends. She was alone. Once, Luma had lived in a big alien city. She had parents, a home, and warm food. But then the war came. Strange machines from the sky destroyed her city. Her parents tried to save her, but they never made it back. Luma hid under broken walls for days, waiting for them to return. But they never did. When the machines left, so did all the other survivors. They ran away in spaceships, leaving behind only ruins and ashes. Luma was too small to follow. No one even noticed her. She was forgotten. Days turned into weeks. She searched for food but found almost nothing. The water was dirty. The plants were dry. The animals that lived here were dangerous. Giant beasts with sharp teeth hunted at night. Luma was always scared. She slept under fallen trees, covering herself with dead leaves to stay warm. Her tiny body grew weaker each day. Her stomach hurt all the time. Her legs trembled when she walked. Her eyes, once bright, now looked dull and empty. But Luma didn't cry anymore. She had no tears left. She had cried them all out when she first realized her parents weren't coming back. Now she just stared at the sky every night, whispering softly to the stars. "Please," she would say in her weak voice, "someone, find me." But the stars never answered. One night, as she sat on a cold rock, she saw a shooting star cross the sky. It was bright and fast. For a moment, her heart jumped. She thought maybe someone was coming. Maybe it was a ship. But then the light disappeared, and the sky was empty again. She sighed and lay down on the ground. She was too tired to walk anymore. Her bones ached. Her skin felt like it was burning. She thought she would never wake up again. Maybe that was better, she thought. Maybe it was easier to sleep forever. As the wind blew harder, she closed her eyes. She dreamed of warm places. She dreamed of her mother's voice singing to her under the soft glow of a night lamp. She dreamed of soft blankets and sweet food. But the dreams always ended quickly, replaced by the cold. Suddenly, the ground rumbled softly. It was a sound Luma hadn't heard before. It wasn't like the beast's footsteps. It was deeper, mechanical. Her eyes opened slowly. In the distance, she saw lights moving lights. Something was coming. She tried to sit up but was too weak. Her heart beat faster, scared it might be another machine, or worse, a predator. The lights grew closer, and soon she heard a soft humming sound. It was a ship. A real ship. Luma's breath caught in her throat. A ship meant someone was here, but would they help her? Or would they hurt her? She tried to crawl closer to a bush, hiding her tiny body behind it. She watched as the ship landed, dust blowing around its silver sides. The door opened slowly with a hiss. A tall figure stepped out. It was not an alien, not a beast. It was human. Luma had heard of humans before. Some aliens feared them, some hated them. But Luma didn't know what to think. She just watched silently, too scared to move. The human was old. His hair was white, his face lined with wrinkles. He carried a small bag on his back and held a tool that scanned the ground. He seemed to be searching for something. Luma stayed quiet, watching from her hiding spot. The human walked slowly, looking around. He didn't seem dangerous, but Luma was still scared. Then the human stopped. He looked directly at the bush where Luma was hiding. "I know you're there," the old man said. his voice deep but gentle. "Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you." Luma held her breath. She wanted to run, but her legs wouldn't move. She was too tired. Too weak. "I can help you," the man said again. "Come out, little one." But Luma stayed still, her heart pounding. She didn't know if she could trust him. She had trusted before, and it only brought her pain. The old man sighed. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small pack of food. He opened it, and the smell of fresh bread filled the air. Luma's stomach growled loudly. She hadn't eaten anything in days. The smell was too tempting. The man smiled and placed the food on a flat rock, then stepped back. "I'll sit here," he said, lowering himself to the ground. "If you're hungry, eat." Minutes passed. Luma stared at the bread. Her mouth watered. Slowly she crawled closer, her eyes never leaving the old man. He didn't move. She reached out and grabbed the bread, shoving it into her mouth. It was the best thing she had tasted in a long time. The man chuckled softly. "There you are," he whispered. "You don't have to be alone anymore." But Luma didn't believe that yet. She was still the lonely creature. Alone, on a cold, dead world. Morning came slowly on the dead planet. The twin suns rose, casting pale light through the gray clouds. The cold air turned warmer, but the place still felt empty and forgotten. The forests of dead trees stood silent, and nothing moved, except for the old man. His name was Elias. He was a human explorer, old but curious. His hair was white, his back slightly bent, but his eyes still held the sharpness of youth. He came to this planet searching for rare minerals and plants, things that could be sold for good money. But when his ship touched down, he didn't expect to find a living soul. Elias moved carefully through the dry ground, holding his scanner. The machine beeped softly, showing readings of the soil. Yet something else caught his attention, the signs of small footprints. They were light, scattered, and weak. They didn't belong to any animal he knew. He knelt and touched the prints. They were fresh. "Strange," he whispered to himself. "There's someone here." He stood up, eyes scanning the area. He saw broken branches, a half-burnt shelter made of leaves and sticks, and a small, thin figure watching from behind a rock. Elias didn't move too quickly. He knew fear when he saw it. The creature was hiding, shaking slightly. It looked like a child but not human. Its skin was pale, almost glowing under the morning sun. Its eyes were large, dark, and filled with caution. Without taking a step closer, Elias raised his hands. "Hello there," he said gently. "I see you." The small creature didn't reply. It just stared at him, unsure. "You must be starving," Elias continued. He slowly took his backpack off and opened a small container. The smell of fresh fruit and bread filled the air. He placed a piece of fruit on a flat stone and sat down a few steps away. "This is for you. I won't come closer, you decide." The little alien girl watched carefully. Her belly ached at the smell. She hadn't eaten real food in days, maybe weeks. She remembered the taste of sweet fruits once, back when her parents were alive. But could she trust this human? She had never seen one before. She had only heard stories that some humans were cruel, conquerors of planets. Yet this old man didn't look dangerous. His face was kind. His voice was soft. Minutes passed. The girl, barely standing on her feet, crawled closer. Her small hands reached out quickly, snatching the fruit. She ate fast, afraid he might take it back. The juice of the fruit dripped down her chin, but she didn't care. It was life. It was hope. Elias watched, his heart heavy. She was just a child, alone, forgotten. "What's your name?" he asked, even though he knew she wouldn't answer. She didn't speak his language. She didn't even know if she could trust his voice yet. "I'm Elias," he said anyway, placing his hand on his chest. "Laliez." The girl paused, her mouth full, and stared at him. She didn't understand the words, but the tone was not threatening. Elias sighed. He couldn't just leave her here. But he also knew she might run if he tried to grab her. She was like a frightened animal, unsure of who to trust. "All right, little one," he said, standing slowly. "I'll be nearby if you need more food." He pointed at his ship in the distance, a small silver vessel with blinking lights. Then he walked away, leaving her to eat in peace. But the girl watched him go, her mind spinning with thoughts. No one had ever brought her food before. No one had cared. When Elias returned to his ship, he stared at the sky. He thought about sending a signal to the human colonies. Maybe someone could come help the girl. But deep down, he knew what would happen. The colonies didn't care about abandoned aliens. They'd see her as a creature to be studied, locked away in a lab. "No," Elias whispered to himself. "She's just a child." That night, Elias made a decision. He packed more food, blankets, and clean water. Then he walked back to where he had found her. She was still there, sitting on the ground, eyes half closed but awake. She didn't run when he came closer this time. He placed a blanket near her. "It gets cold at night," he said, covering her gently. She didn't resist. The warmth of the blanket made her eyes flutter with relief. Elias smiled. "We'll get you stronger," he promised. "I won't leave you." For the first time in so long, the little alien girl felt something new, a small spark of safety. She still didn't know this human. She didn't know his world. But deep inside she felt, maybe this time, she wasn't completely alone. Somewhere far away, the stars watched quietly. And for the first time, they had answered her whispered prayers, not with magic, but with an old man's kindness. The night was quiet, but not peaceful. The cold air made the little alien girl shiver under the thin blanket the old man had left her. She stayed awake for hours, eyes wide open, listening for predators. She was used to being alone, used to fighting. Sleep, because sleep could mean death on this planet. But tonight felt different. There was no sound of growls or footsteps of monsters. Instead, there was a faint hum in the air, the sound of the human ship in the distance. The sound comforted her, even though she didn't understand why. In the morning, when the pale suns returned to the sky, the girl slowly sat up. She was still weak, but her belly was no longer empty. The fruit from yesterday had given her a small bit of strength. She looked around and saw new items left near her hiding spot: more food, clean water, and another soft blanket. The old man had come while she slept, and he had left gifts without waking her. She stared at the items, confused. No one had ever done this for her. On her world, strength was survival. The weak were forgotten, yet this human was different. He didn't take anything. He gave. Still, she stayed hidden, watching carefully from behind the rocks. She wanted to understand this human. Later, she saw him again. The old man Elias returned, carrying this small box. He sat on a flat stone, humming a song softly. The sound was strange, but it made her feel calm. After a while, Elias spoke, even though he knew she didn't understand. "Little one, I know you're there. I'm not going to leave. You remind me of someone long ago." His voice was heavy with sadness, but also warmth. Slowly, he opened the box. Inside were small tools, wires, and parts of old devices. From them, he built a little machine, a toy. It was a small bird made of metal. When he twisted it, the wings flapped gently, making a soft clicking sound. Then Elias placed the toy on the ground and pushed it toward the rocks where she hid. The girl watched the strange bird. Its wings moved and its eyes glowed faintly. She had never seen such a thing. She couldn't help but crawl forward a little, curious. Elias smiled when he saw her shadow move closer. "You like that?" he asked softly. "I used to make these for my granddaughter. She loved them." The girl finally reached the bird. She touched it carefully, afraid it might break or bite. But it didn't. It just moved its wings, softly clicking. A small smile appeared on her face. It was weak, but real. She didn't remember the last time she smiled. Elias saw that smile and his heart ached. "There you are," he whispered. Very slowly, he stretched his hand toward her. Not to grab, not to scare, but just to offer. For a moment, the girl froze. Touch meant danger in her world, but this time, something was different. The man's hand was open, waiting. No tricks, no threats. She looked into his eyes, soft, tired but kind. Then slowly, she reached out her thin hand and touched his fingers. Her skin was cold and rough, his hand warm and steady. It was the first time in months, maybe longer, that she had touched another living being. And nothing bad happened. Elias smiled wider. "See? Not so scary." The girl looked down, confused by the strange feeling in her chest. She didn't understand what it was: comfort, safety, hope. He gently squeezed her fingers, careful not to hurt her. "I can help you," he said, "but you have to let me." She didn't know his words, but the tone made her feel safe. For a few minutes, neither moved. They just sat, hands barely touching, connected by something stronger than words. Then the girl pulled back quickly and scurried behind the rock again. She was still afraid. She still didn't fully trust him, but Elias wasn't disappointed. He knew it was a start. "You'll come around," he said, standing up. "I'll be here." He left more food and water, then walked back to his ship. That night, the girl didn't feel as cold. She held the metal bird close to her chest like a treasure. She looked up at the stars and whispered something in her alien tongue, a soft prayer, not to the stars, but for herself. Maybe. Just maybe. She wasn't going to die alone on this planet. For the first time, she didn't sleep with fear in her heart. She slept holding the toy, thinking of the warmth of the human's hand. And far away, Elias sat by his ship's fire, looking at the night sky. "I'll keep coming back," he said to himself. "I won't lose another child." Tomorrow, he would try again, and the day after that. Until the lonely creature wasn't lonely anymore. The days passed slowly on the dead world, but for the first time, the little alien girl felt them changing. She was still weak, but no longer starving. She still shivered, but the blankets helped. She still watched the dark sky, but now she was waiting for the old human. Every morning, the man named Elias returned to the same spot near the dead trees. He carried food, water, and sometimes strange little gifts, small trinkets, shiny stones, or more of his tiny metal toys. And every time, the girl watched him from behind the rocks, her wide dark eyes following his every move. She didn't run anymore. She didn't hide completely. She waited and watched Elias talk to her even though she never answered. He told her about the stars, about planets he had visited, about the family he once had. "I had a granddaughter," he said one day, placing a fresh piece of bread on the flat stone. "Her name was Luma." The girl's head tilted when she heard the word. The way he said it. It sounded warm, special. "I think that name suits you," Elias smiled. "Luma, yes, that's what I'll call you." The girl whispered the word softly under her breath. She didn't understand it, but it felt nice. She had forgotten her real name long ago. Now she had one again, Luma. Over time, Luma dared to crawl closer whenever Elias visited. She sat just a few feet away while she ate, keeping her eyes on him but no longer shaking. She listened to his voice, not understanding the words, but feeling the kindness in them. One day, Elias brought something different. It was a small device, round and glowing faintly. He placed it between them. "This," he said, "will help us understand each other." He tapped the device, and it buzzed lightly. "It's a translator. It'll take some time, but it can learn your language if you speak." Luma stared at it, then at Elias. She was still scared to speak, scared that her voice might bring danger. But Elias waited patiently to show her it was safe. He pressed a button on his side of the device and spoke. "Friend," he said, pointing to himself, then to her. "Friend." The device repeated the word in a soft tone. Luma watched carefully, then whispered a sound in her alien tongue. The device caught it, hummed, and tried to repeat it, but it was wrong. She giggled softly for the first time in so long. Elias chuckled too. "We'll get it right, one day." That giggle was a victory. A sound of life. Elias came back every day. He cleaned a small area near her hiding place, making a little camp. He built a simple shelter from fallen branches and covered it with tarps from his ship. It wasn't much, but it was better than the open ground. Luma started sleeping there, feeling a bit safer. She knew Elias was nearby, watching over her. One night, a cold wind blew stronger than before. The dead trees groaned, and the sky rumbled with distant thunder. Luma wrapped herself in her blanket, but the chill was too much. Then she heard footsteps. She tensed for a moment, but the familiar voice calmed her. "Easy, Luma," Elias said gently. He stepped into the shelter, carrying a heat lamp from his ship. He placed it near her, and warm light spread around them. "There, better?" Luma nodded slowly. Her body relaxed under the warmth. Elias sat beside her, careful not to get too close. They sat in silence, listening to the wind howl outside. After a while, Luma spoke in her soft, broken voice. "Luma?" Elias smiled. "Yes, that's you." She touched her chest. "Luma." Then she pointed at him with questioning eyes. "Elias." He answered, tapping his chest. Elias, she repeated slowly. His smile widened. "That's right. That was the first exchange of names. The first real connection. From that night on, things changed faster." The translator device started learning her language bit by bit. She began saying simple words, teaching him her name. For the stars, for the ground, for the creatures that hunted in the dark. And Elias taught her his words in return. They shared food together now, sitting side by side. Luma laughed softly at his old stories, and Elias marveled at her alien songs humming low and sweet, like a memory of a lost world. Day by day, the bond between them grew stronger. The fear in Luma's eyes began to fade, replaced by a spark of trust. Elias noticed it the most when one day, as they sat by the heat lamp, she leaned her tiny head against his arm and closed her eyes. He didn't move, afraid to break the moment. His old heart, scarred and tired, felt full again. "You're not alone anymore, little one," he whispered. "Not while I'm here." Outside, the dead planet remained cold and lifeless. But inside their small shelter, something was alive, something warm, something new. The bond was growing, and neither of them knew that soon it would be tested in ways they couldn't imagine. The night after the beast's attack was still and heavy. The air no longer carried the growls of predators, but Elias couldn't sleep. He sat near the small shelter, watching the stars, his mind racing with thoughts. Beside him, Luma slept deeply, her small body exhausted from using the strange power that had saved them both. She lay wrapped in blankets, her breathing soft and steady. Elias looked at her, studying her face. She didn't look dangerous. She looked like any lost child. Yet, inside her was something powerful, something even she didn't understand. "What are you really, Luma?" Elias whispered. His mind flashed back to the energy pulse she had released. No human could do that. Maybe no ordinary alien could either. She wasn't just another orphaned creature. She was special, maybe even rare. Morning came slowly. Luma opened her eyes, feeling lighter, but also confused. She remembered the beast, the energy, and the way her body had burned from the inside. She didn't know how she did it. She only knew she didn't want Elias to die. That thought alone had unlocked her hidden strength. She sat up and saw Elias making repairs on his ship, tools scattered around him. What you doing?" she asked, her voice still rough but clearer now. Elias smiled faintly. "Trying to make the ship ready." "We can't stay here, Luma. It's not safe. Luma looked down, hugging her knees. She had spent her whole life on this dead planet. Leaving it felt strange, but exciting too. Where? She asked softly. Elias thought for a moment. Home. My home. I live on a space station with people. Markets, lights, places with food and music. You'll like it. Luma tilted her head. People ... like you? Elias chuckled. Mostly. Not all of them are nice. But they're nothing like those beasts here. Luma smiled a little, but deep down, she worried. She had seen how some aliens treated others. Would they treat her the same? She didn't ask aloud, but the fear stayed in her chest. Later that day, Elias checked the ship's systems again. It was old, and not meant to carry 2 passengers, but he was determined. He couldn't leave Luma behind. As he worked, Luma wandered to the edge of the clearing. She stared at the dead trees, remembering the years she spent hiding, starving, running. She felt different now, not just because she wasn't hungry, but because for the first time, she felt strong. She held out her hand, focusing her mind. She didn't know what to expect, but she tried to feel the same emotion she had felt when facing the beast: fear, anger, and the desire to protect. Her body tingled. A faint glow appeared on her fingers like small lights waking from sleep. She gasped, softly surprised. Luma. She turned and saw Elias watching her, tools in hand. He had seen the light. She looked down, ashamed. I don't know how it happened. Elias walked closer, kneeling beside her. It's all right. I saw you fight the beast. That power have. You always had it? She shook her head. No, I I think it's new. Or hidden. Elias rubbed his chin, thinking. Maybe it's part of your species. Or maybe it's just you. She looked into his eyes. Is it bad? Elias smiled gently. No, Luma, it's not bad. It saved us. But we'll need to be careful. Some people don't like things they don't understand. She nodded slowly. I'm scared. That's normal, Elias said. But you don't have to face it alone. I'll help you. Luma's eyes softened. You promise? He placed his hand over his heart. I promise. Suddenly, the ground rumbled again, but this time it wasn't a beast. Elias stood up fast. No, that's not an animal. In the sky, they saw a ship. But it wasn't a human ship. It was larger, darker, with red lights blinking like eyes. Elias grabbed Luma's hand. We need to go. Now. Who is it? Luma asked, frightened. Hunters. Elias said grimly. Salvagers. They come to dead planets like this, looking for scrap ... and life forms to sell. Luma's heart pounded. She had heard of them. Ruthless beings who captured anything rare or strange. They ran back to Elias's ship. He rushed to the controls, flipping switches, praying the engine would wake up. The hunter's ship landed nearby, dust clouds rising. Elias yelled, Come on. Start. The engine coughed, then roared to life. Luma, sit tight. He shouted, but before they could take off, shadows moved outside. The hunters had arrived. Tall figures in black armor, holding weapons. Elias aimed his flare gun, but he knew it wasn't enough. Luma stood behind him, staring at the door. She could feel the fear growing again, but also the power inside her. Her hands glowed brighter. This time, she stepped forward. No, Elias tried to stop her, but she shook her head. I'll protect ... family. She raised her hands, and the air crackled with energy. The hunters stopped, confused by the light. Then Luma screamed, not in fear, but in defiance. A wave of energy burst from her, blasting through the walls, sending the hunters flying back. The ground shook. The ship rocked, but Elias held on, stunned by her power. The hunters retreated, their leader shouting commands in panic. They hadn't expected this. Luma collapsed, breathing hard, but she smiled. I'm strong. Elias grabbed her, holding her tight. Yes, you are, Luma. and we're getting off this planet." With a final roar, the ship lifted into the sky, leaving the dead world behind. Luma watched through the window as the ground grew smaller. She had lived there all her life, but now she was free. And for the first time, she wasn't just a scared little creature. She was powerful. She was Luma. The sunless sky was heavy with gray clouds, but inside the small shelter, Luma slept soundly for the first time. After days of fear and hunger, she now had warmth, food, and someone who didn't leave her behind. Elias watched her quietly, his old mind restless. The image of Luma glowing, pushing back the massive beast with a wave of invisible force, replayed in his head again and again. "What did you just do, little one?" he whispered to himself. He'd seen many species in his life, many abilities, but not like this. She was too small, too frail-looking to hold such strength. Yet, when she had screamed, the very air had cracked and the ground had shaken. Morning arrived quietly. Luma woke up slowly, rubbing her eyes. She looked around until she saw Elias sitting outside, repairing the ship's outer panels with careful hands. She stepped out shyly, dragging the blanket around her shoulders. Elias looked up and smiled. "Morning, bright eyes." Luma gave a faint smile back. "Morning, Elias." She was getting better at human words, her tongue still clumsy but eager to learn. "You feeling all right?" he asked. Luma nodded. "Tired, but okay." She sat on a rock nearby, watching him work. For a while, neither spoke. Then Luma softly asked, "What happened to me?" Elias wiped his forehead, thinking carefully about his answer. "Something inside you woke up, some kind of power." She hugged her knees, looking unsure. "I didn't know I had it." Elias nodded. "I believe you. Maybe you didn't know because no one ever taught you. Or maybe it only wakes up when you need to protect someone." She tilted her head. "Protect?" Elias chuckled. "Yes, like when you saved me from the beast." That was brave. Luma's eyes sparkled for a moment. No one had ever called her brave before. She'd always thought she was weak, useless, and forgotten. She whispered, "I don't want to hide anymore." Elias smiled warmly. "Good, because you're stronger than you think." Suddenly, Luma stood up. "I want to try." "Try what?" She stepped away, holding out her small hands, focusing. She remembered the feeling she had when the beast was about to kill them, the fear, the anger, the need to protect. She closed her eyes. Elias watched, curious. For a moment, nothing happened. But then, a faint glow appeared on her skin, her fingers sparkling like tiny stars. A soft hum filled the air. The dust around her feet swirled as if caught in a gentle wind. Her eyes opened, glowing faintly, but just as quickly as it appeared, the glow faded. She fell to her knees, breathing hard. Elias rushed to her side. "Easy, easy now." She looked up at him, frustrated. "I can't control it." "That's all right," Elias said kindly. "You're still learning." He helped her sit down, giving her water. "Whatever that power is, it comes from inside you. It's part of who you are." She looked down at her hands. "Am I dangerous?" Elias shook his head firmly. "No, you're powerful, yes. But dangerous? Only if you want to be. And I don't think you do." Luma smiled softly. "No, I don't." Elias stood up, looking around. "We need to get off this planet. There's more danger here than just beasts." As if the stars heard his words, a deep rumble echoed across the sky. Luma stood quickly, her senses sharper now. "What's that sound?" she asked. Elias looked up, his heart sinking. "Engines, big ones." Through the clouds, a large shadow appeared, a ship. Dark and heavy, its engines growling like a hungry animal. It wasn't a human vessel. Elias recognized the design. "Hunters," he said grimly. "Scavengers who take whatever they find, machines, minerals, or people." Luma's eyes widened with fear. "They'll take us? If they find us?" "Yes," Elo said. He grabbed her hand. "We need to leave, now." They ran back to the ship. Elias climbed into the cockpit, flipping switches desperately. "Come on. Come on, double quotes," he muttered. The ship groaned to life, but slowly. Too slowly. Outside, the scavenger ship landed, kicking up dust. Armored figures stepped out tall, metallic suits with glowing red visors, weapons in hand. Luma peeked through the window. Her hands started to glow again, but she was still weak. Elias prepared his flare gun. Though he knew it was almost useless, the hunters spotted them and advanced. Then, Luma did something Elias didn't expect. She stepped out of the ship. "Luma." "No," Elias shouted, but she turned back with a determined look. "I won't let them hurt family." Her body began to glow brighter, her eyes shining like twin moons. The ground under her feet cracked. The hunters paused, confused. Luma raised her hands. The air twisted, and a deep pulse shot outward like a shockwave. The hunters staggered, their weapons crackling and short-circuiting. Some were thrown off their feet, others ran back to the ship. Luma screamed, her energy growing wild, but she controlled it just enough not to hurt Elias or herself. The scavengers, now scared, retreated to their ship, leaving the ground scarred but alive. Elias watched, stunned. She had done it again. She had fought back. Luma fell to her knees, breathing heavily. Elias ran to her, catching her before she hit the ground. "You did it, Luma," he whispered. "You scared them off." She smiled faintly. "I strong. Because of you." Elias chuckled, tears in his eyes. "No, you're strong because you chose to be." He carried her back to the ship, starting the engines. "Let's go home, kid." As they lifted off the planet, Luma looked through the window. One last time, she wasn't just a lost creature anymore. She was Luma, the girl with the hidden power, and she was never going to be weak again. The stars stretched like rivers of light as Elias's ship soared beyond the dead planet. Below them, the lifeless world grew smaller and smaller until it was nothing but a gray dot swallowed by the dark. Luma sat by the window, her big dark eyes wide open, watching the galaxy pass by. She had never seen the universe like this before. She had spent her whole life on the ground, trapped by the sky above her. But now the sky itself was open, and she was flying through it. Beside her, Elias worked the ship's controls with practiced hands. His old ship groaned and buzzed, but it kept flying steady. "You all right, kid?" Elias asked, glancing at her. Luma turned to him and smiled gently. "I'm flying," Elias chuckled. "Yes, you are, and we're almost home." "Home?" She echoed softly. "What is it like?" Elias paused for a moment. "Home. It's a place where you don't have to run. A place where you can sleep without fear. Where someone waits for you." Luma's smile faded a little. She had never known such a place. "Will I have home too?" she asked hesitantly. Elias looked at her with warm eyes. "You already do." Those words made her heart feel strange, heavy, and light at the same time. She hugged her knees, quietly holding on to the feeling. After days of traveling through starfields and asteroid belts, the ship finally approached a large station floating near a glowing blue planet. The station was massive, like a metal city. In space, lights blinked everywhere, and ships of all sizes came and went, docking and leaving like birds around a nest. "That's it," Elias said proudly. "Port Haven, my home." Luma stared in wonder. It was the biggest thing she had ever seen. She pressed her face to the glass, her breath fogging it up. As they docked, the station's docking bay opened with loud clanks and mechanical sounds. Elias steered the ship inside, landing it gently. When the doors hissed open, Luma hesitated. The air smelled different, cleaner, warmer. But the sound of voices, footsteps, and machines made her nervous. She looked at Elias with worry. "What? If they don't like me?" Elias kneeled in front of her. "You're with me. No one will touch you. And if they try, well, you're not exactly helpless. She giggled softly at that. No, I'm not. He offered his hand, and she took it. They stepped out together. The station was alive with people, humans, aliens of all colors and shapes, traders, workers, and guards. Some looked at them with curiosity, some with suspicion, but no one stopped them. Elias led her to his small home inside the station. It was simple, a room with soft chairs, shelves filled with old books, tools scattered on a workbench, and a screen that showed stars outside. This is it, Elias said. Not much, but it's home. Luma stepped in slowly, touching the walls, the shelves, the soft chair. It felt strange, but safe. Then Elias showed her something special. On a small shelf sat a picture, a young human girl smiling, holding a small metal bird toy. Luma pointed at it. Who? That was my granddaughter, Luma. Her eyes widened. Like me. Yes, Elias smiled sadly. She's gone now. Long time ago. But when I saw you, I remembered her. Luma looked at the picture, then at Elias. She gently hugged him. I'm your family now? Elias's eyes watered. He hugged her back. Yes, Luma, you are. Time passed. Luma learned quickly how to speak better, how to eat new foods, how to live without fear. She made her own little corner in Elias's home, filling it with shiny stones, toys Elias built, and a soft blanket. She even asked Elias to teach her how to control her power. She didn't want to be afraid of it anymore. Together, they practiced. Luma learned to summon small waves of energy, to light up her hands, to move objects gently. She wasn't perfect yet, but she was growing stronger with each day. The people of the station noticed her too. Some were scared at first, whispering about the little alien girl with strange powers. But when they saw her laugh, play, and help Elias with his work, their hearts softened. One day, as Luma watched ships coming and going, she asked, "Will we always stay here?" Elias smiled. "If you want, or ... we can explore. There are more planets out there, more stars." Luma thought for a moment, then smiled brightly. "I want to see them all," Elias laughed. "Then that's what we'll do, kiddo." For the first time in her life, Luma wasn't just surviving, she was living. She wasn't hiding in shadows anymore. She had a home, a family, and a future. Among the stars. And deep inside, she promised herself one thing: she would never be the lonely creature again. She was Luma, the strong, the brave, and the universe was waiting for her.